Okay. Has the recording started? Yeah. Okay. So int and float have the same size. Is it?
Yes, sir.
So which one will be considered as higher? Always the
Float.
one with always the one with the decimal point will be considered as higher. Okay, always the one with the decimal point will be considered the higher one. Okay. Are we fine with whatever situation I wanted to explain to you? Is that it is not always that, for example, we have actually a long argument, long type formal argument. I can also pass anything which is long or below long. So I can pass an int, I can pass a short, I can pass a byte. Okay, next thing that we need to do is basically all the methods of the wrapper classes. Okay, I've created a list of all of them now. Okay, and I have given some sort of a description also somewhere. But I have tried to use all. And ये जो data type की problem आती है, that problem would not be there anymore. Okay, let me start off with the wrapper classes. First of all, wrapper classes methods are all static methods and they are all final methods. What does this mean? Static methods means
They can be accessed via the class name.
via the class name. It actually belongs, the method belongs to the entire class. It doesn't belong to an object. And final means
They cannot be overridden by
it
any
cannot
class.
be
Cannot
over,
be over.
they cannot be overridden. ठीक है. Uh, in fact, most of these are also used using final classes. Like the string class is a final class. So that means I cannot create a class which is a subclass of the string class. Anyway, that is out of our boundary here at the moment. So let's consider the first method here. The first method here is integer.parseInt. First class is integer class. And integer class may we are supposed to know about two methods, that is integer.parseInt method and integer.value of method. Both of them take string as an argument and both of them return an int and integer. You know that any value of method जो है वो actually return करेगा object. Okay, whereas parseInt
Excuse me,
parse
sir.
value, yeah.
Sorry for interrupting, sir. But sir, if we create a class as final, does it have any point creating all the members of the class as final?
Class as final, हाँ members को तो final का कोई चक्कर ही नहीं है.
Okay, sir. Thank
ठीक
you.
है, बट रैपर क्लासेस मेरे ख्याल से फाइनल नहीं है, उसके मेथड सारे फाइनल हैं. स्ट्रिंग क्लास फाइनल है, उसके मेथड्स तो नेचुरली फाइनल ही हो जाते हैं. जब वो क्लास ही सब क्लास नहीं हो सकती, आप इनहेरिट नहीं कर सकते हो, तो आगे तो इनहेरिटेंस का ही मतलब नहीं है, तो ओवरराइडिंग का भी मतलब नहीं है. ठीक है. ओके, सो anyway you were thinking at a tangent there. Okay, now basically अब देखो ये जो चार classes हैं, चार integer, long, float and double. इन चार में we have parse method also and we have value of method also. दोनों सब में देख लो. Float में भी we have parse and value of, and double में भी देखो we have parse and value of. And you can see that each value of returns the object equivalent, whereas every parse returns a long. And all of them take strings as argument. I think this should be very, very clear how things happen here. We normally don't use all these, but anyway, it is in your syllabus, you should know them. Okay, any worries here? Any questions here?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Sir, otherwise asking, though beyond the scope of our current discussion, sir,
Uh-huh.
in value of methods, there are some overloaded functions also, right, sir?
Yes, there are.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, there are. And in fact, there are so many. Like, for example, for math, we are supposed to know about only these 6 or 7 or 8 of them. There are more than 50 methods of the math class. So we are not supposed to know all of them. We are only supposed to do whatever is in our syllabus, which is given in my list.
So
Okay.
all the methods of the string class are non-static,
All the methods of the string
leaving
class
besides some exceptions.
uh, are non-static. No, no, they are non. Okay, they are not. All of them are not non-static.
That makes sense.
Okay, like value of is a static one. If you use
Yes.
something called string dot value of, that is static. But ये वाला, ठीक है, लेकिन ये वाला जो है ये तो नॉर्मल होगा, है ना? ओके, चलो. ओके, सो नाउ द नेक्स्ट इज कैरेक्टर क्लास. कैरेक्टर क्लास की बेसिक जो मेथड्स हैं, वी हैव इज से शुरू होने वाले जितने ये जितने 6 हैं, is digit, is letter, is so and so, is so and so, all of them return boolean. So I don't think you should have any problem ke regarding usage of these. So character dot is digit, you are actually going to pass the character there, char, and it will return true or false whether it is a digit, whether it is an alphabet, whether it is an alphabet or digit, whether it is in a lowercase or uppercase, or whether it is a blank space. And the last two are basically returning characters, and these methods are to lowercase. It converts the character to lowercase and the character to uppercase. Okay. String class methods हम बाद में करते हैं, पहले हम java.lang.math वाले methods कर लेते हैं. Now I've given the data types of all. There's always a confusion as to what takes what. Like we have a math.pow function. So math.pow function basically takes two doubles as argument and returns a double. Now guys, I have explained to you that when you call a method, it doesn't matter whether the formal arguments are of what type. I can pass anything which is either equal to that or less than that. So double being the highest, don't you think POW will take any kind of numeric data? Isn't it? Okay, so it will take any kind of a numeric data, and you will see that most of these methods, math wale, they are actually taking doubles as arguments. तो इसमें मुझे ओवरलोड करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. अगर मैं 2 int पास करना चाहूँ तो I can pass an int, but it will actually return a double always. So POW basically returns a power of a number. So if I say for example, if I write math.pow in brackets 2 comma 3, this is going to be returning 2 to the power 3. Okay, anyway, sqrt basically returns the square root of a number. Again, it takes a double as argument. Now you can pass anything from byte, short, int, long, float, double, any data type, but it will always return a double. cbrt, cube root, sqrt, square root. CEIL, it returns the ceiling. Okay, so that means it will return a higher integer value than the number which is being passed. If I pass it a 4.6, it actually returns a 5. And if I pass it a minus 4.6, it actually returns a minus 4, because minus 4 is higher than that. Are we okay there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And floor does the opposite. So floor also takes a double argument and returns the lesser number than the value passed. So basically it is going to, if I pass it a 4.6, it is actually going to give me a 4. Okay, round basically rounds off a number, and if I use say 4.4, it rounds it off to a 4.0 and 4, and if I pass 4.5 or anything above that, it will return a 5. And round basically takes two kinds of arguments. Either it takes a float argument and it returns an int, otherwise it takes a double as argument and it returns a long. Okay. Next is absolute method. Absolute method basically returns a positive number always. Positive number, doesn't matter whatever is passed to it. So if I pass it a -6, for example, that is an int, it will actually return a +6 to me. But if I pass it a +6, it will let it be +6 only. बाकी absolute is okay. Absolute की चार आपको varieties नजर आती हैं, and it takes all different kinds of arguments there. Next is max. Max basically takes all four combinations, again int, double, long, float, and returns the corresponding int, double, long, and float. Similarly, min returns the minimum value, again four combinations, int, double, long, and float. That's it. Okay. Random is, it actually returns a fractional number between 0 to 1. So that means it might return something like 0.9986, whatever. So this is the number that it basically returns in a particular call. In the pure impure methods, this is considered as an impure method. Why? Because whenever I call it, it actually gives me, I'm not passing it anything, I'm passing it 0 arguments, and it always returns a different value to me. So I'll put it into the impure category. Whereas, for example, if I take any of these, for example, a round one, okay? So if I pass it a 4.4, it is always going to give me a 4. It's not going to give me anything else. Okay. While we are on this impure pure topic, if I use sc.next function, for example, this next function or next line function or next whatever function, this is considered as impure. Why? Because it actually will return different things, because it depends on whatever the user has typed. So sometimes it may return something, sometimes it will return something else. It will actually depend on what the user has input into that call. All right, guys, any problem here?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, beta.
Sir, what does math.rent do?
Rent is not in your syllabus, so forget about it. Okay. Next is scanner class methods. Scanner में तो तुम्हें पता ही है, वैसे you know this, that next short, next int, next long, float, double, next, and next line. These are the basic functions here. Next short will actually take a short as input, and it will actually returns a short. Int will return it whatever has been typed as an int. Long, float, and double. No problem there. Next and next line, basically both of them take strings as arguments, and next will actually input only till a space. After the space, that input goes into the next variable or the next call. Next line basically takes input. For example, if I write inputs line into next line method call, it will actually take the entire statement as the entire statement will be passed into the variable where it is being stored. Whereas अगर मैं next use करूँ तो it will only take this as the input, the first one. Okay. Next function dot caret function. Actually, there is no method in Java to take a single character as input. So what do? We take next method call, And the next method actually is going to return a string. Dot caret 0 will return the first character, and that character is going to be in single quotes, isn't it? So this is how we take the first a character. So if I actually input alpha, for example, alpha, so it is actually going to return this to me. All right. Any other discussion till now, guys? How many people are we?
No, sir.
No problem. Okay. I'll continue with the string class methods. String class methods, we have a method called trim, which removes the trailing and leading spaces. To lowercase to uppercase basically converts the string into uppercase or lowercase. Length function returns the length of a string. Caret returns a character at a position which is being passed here. Index of returns the index of the character, the first index of the character which is being passed. Last index of will return the last index of the character which is passed. Both these methods return a -1 in case the character is not found there. Concat basically concats the string, this string, with the one which is invoking it. Okay, so there is a string which is invoking this particular method, उसके साथ इसको जोड़ देगा. Equals method finds out whether the invoking string is equal to the string which is passed. Equals ignore case, again it will try to equate, but it doesn't worry about the cases. So cases are ignored. Capital, small doesn't matter, the strings have to be the same. Next is compare to. It compares two strings for equality or inequality and returns an int. The int here basically is the difference between the ASCII values. Compare to ignore case works similar to compare to, but here it ignores the case. Replace basically replaces the old character with a new character. There has to be comma here. Next is substring. Basically, it returns a substring starting from this particular index. And second is substring, which is starting from this particular index and ending before this particular index. Starts with, returns a boolean, and the boolean, if the invoking string is actually starting with this particular string, it returns a true, otherwise false. Similarly, ends with does the same, but it checks whether it is ending with that. Now, string value of, all of these are again static. I've given you the description here. We have all types of value of methods here. So value of वाले जितने भी हैं methods वो आप string dot value of करके use करोगे और जो भी pass करेंगे वो हम उस तरह से होगा. For example, let me give an example here. If I want to convert a 123 into a string, so I'll say string s is equal to string dot value of 123. I had given this question in the pre-boards also. So this is how this is an integer which is int which is being converted to a string. So this is how you will use it. By the way, you could have used it as s is equal to 123 plus string, something like this. Sorry. Plus. Something like this. But if you are asked, guys, please remember, you may not be able to use plus every time, guys. So make sure you know about concat from method here. Okay, we have something called concat. We should know about concat methods because around 4 years ago, they had given a 4-5 liner program, which simply where you were supposed to use methods of string class to perform some action. और उसमें तुम प्लस नहीं यूज कर सकते थे फिर, ठीक है? तो अगर if you are saying, if they say that use library classes, this is the word that they normally use, library classes. So what will you use? You will use value of. If you're using it in a program, you could use a plus, no problem. Okay, I think we have covered all and the time is up. Wow, we are perfect people. All right. Do we have any question, guys?
No, sir.
No, guys, no problem. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I was reading in our book there was one program in which they had input an integer, following which they had input a line, a name maybe, and they had to put an intervening sn dot or whatever next int function, sir, to consume the end of line character, which maybe I also used in the program in our pre-board exams. But sir, if you could please explain the logic behind that.
Once again, what did you say?
Sir, there was a question in our book where the programmer had to firstly input a number and then input a name. So after taking sn dot next int for the number to be input, they had put an intervening sn dot next line function to consume the end of the line character, so as to quote the book, before taking in the name.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
sir, if you could explain the logic behind that so that we can be sure
Uh,
before a board exam.
okay. For the board exam, it doesn't matter. You don't need to put an intervening thing. Okay. You don't need to. That is actually a practical problem. That is a practical problem. ये जो स्कैनर क्लास वाली जो methods हैं, they are not normally used for inputs, for a keyboard inputs, guys. ठीक है, प्रप्रीत?
Right, sir. So
Okay.
that is why
And
we created
yeah,
problems earlier as well.
because we are using system.in there, system.in actually means use the standard input device, that is the keyboard, and it uses the keyboard as the input device. But it is not normally, maybe 10% of the time we use scanner to do that. But for majority of the time, it is actually used to open other objects, other streams, maybe files, maybe an internet connection, maybe sockets. So it is basically used for those, not for performing a simple raw input from a keyboard. ठीक है?
Right.
तो इसमें अभी और कई चीजें होती हैं, इसके टोकन्स होते हैं, हैज टोकन और something like that. So we basically use it for other things, not for raw input. So don't worry about putting intervening input statements there. We are not looking for that. We are
Right,
looking
sir.
for an input.
Just
Practically, yes, that program is not going to work. But theoretically, it is going to be perfect. So there is no problem. Don't worry about your brains about that particular thing. ठीक है?
right, sir. And sir, secondly, our book introduced a method named sn dot use delimiter. I guess there was a question in the exercise thereafter on that. So we
Okay, no,
don't that
we don't
method,
need to
right?
worry about that. Yeah, yeah. We don't need
And
to
so
worry.
lastly, if we have a assignment statement inside the brackets of the system.out.println statement, as in system.out.println in brackets a equals 17, it would print 17, right, sir?
Yeah.
Provided a is initialized earlier, sorry, declared earlier.
A has to be declared earlier. That's all.
So that means we
So
can use assignments inside this print statement,
you can, but I would warn you against it. Don't do
right?
that. Okay, but you can. Why? Because equal to has a higher precedence. Naturally, it assigns first, and then it gives it to system.out.println to display it.
Right, sir. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
हाँ जी. Okay. Uh, Anything else? I have another class in 10 minutes. So those of you who would want to attend that, no problem, you join that back again. Otherwise, that one is that is an extra class for basics. Okay, so you may get bored there. If you wish to join it, there's no problem. Okay, guys, I'll see you tomorrow then. And if you have any topic that we can discuss tomorrow, just send me the topic on WhatsApp. I'll try to put that into the program for tomorrow. ठीक है.